Irreverent, entertaining, cool. You're listening to LA Talk Radio.
You're listening to Reza Riffs with Keith Reza and Alan Lee, right here on LA Talk Radio.
Hey Rifters, Keith and Alan here. Before we start the show, we want you to know that this episode of Reza Riffs is sponsored by the LGF Museum of Natural History, which is a non-profit 300 square foot upcoming new museum in Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah, man. The LGF will have a worldwide natural history coupled with cutting-edge technology that will appeal to all senses.
That's right, Alan. They strive to educate children of all ages. LGF founder Mike Fleeman is dedicating this museum to his late father, Larry Gene Fleeman, who was his inspiration as motivation to start collecting artifacts for this natural history museum.
With your support, LGF can find a home for Larry. Their Stimulok spinfer, a 67 million year old herbivore from the Cretaceous period. Oh, that's cool.
It is cool, Alan. Follow them on Facebook at LGF Foundation Inc. Or to donate, go to www.lgffoundation.org.
I just donated $10.
And you Rifters can too at www.lgffoundation.org. Together, let's build a museum of the future today at www.lgffoundation.org. Now, back to the show. Excellent. That was a
LGF.
fun.
It's a great organization.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was a fun traffic ride today. Well,
yeah, we hit it, man. 3 o'clock on the San Diego Freeway, moving north, trying to use the Diamond Lane, and we got here. We
got here. But usually, what happens is I pick you up, and then you drive me while I sleep.
You stayed awake today.
I stayed awake today.
No.
It was weird, wasn't it?
It was a little strange.
Yeah.
Because there was no snoring in the car.
But yeah, man. But we got a great show tonight, guys.
I think so.
I actually look forward to every Tuesday because it's my favorite day of the week because I love this podcast so much.
It's just a party.
Yeah, and I love seeing you and that nice mustache you got.
I trimmed it today.
I know. I thought you were going out for like this part.
You know, I wish I could say that, and I'm just testing this, but the mustache is on its way out in another 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Yeah. I said, no, I'm not joking. I'm pledging to take it off.
All right, Rifters, you heard it. Alan Lee has 2 weeks to enjoy the mustache.
Who knows? There's some shaving companies out there. Get on board.
Maybe we could get Dollar Shave Club to sponsor the show.
Oh, I do need some razors.
It'll be like Alan Lee's going to shave it in 2 weeks.
We could video that.
Well, we got a great show tonight. Our guest today, you guys have seen him from the movie Couples Retreat. He's the star and the creator of the show that was on TBS called Sullivan Son. He has a lot of Netflix specials, and he has a Showtime special that just came out in April called Tell the Damn Joke. He's also performing on Thursday at the Hollywood Improv on Friday. The Hollywood Improv. Steve Byrne is going to be calling in.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun, man, because he's a very interesting guy, and he's a comics comic, you know what I mean? Like, he has all these stories of comedy.
Well, I'll tell you, Steve, get ready to tell your stories, because you've got two people that are willing to listen to everything you say tonight.
Maybe he'll give you advice on how to shave the mustache.
Well, let's not bother him with something like that. I mean,
but you know what you know what Jacob told me the other day? He was telling me that he went because he does the shooting the guns and stuff in the desert.
Yeah,
he was telling me that he shot a snake or something, and they had to cut its head off.
Oh,
because I guess its fangs were still
oh.
He was saying that it's kind of how when you go turkey hunting, you cut off the turkey's neck and it still walks around. And stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he said that the head still does
Spasms?
spasms.
Oh. So
I
what
thought-
exactly...
No, I just thought that was interesting and scary because snakes scare me.
Well, snakes scare everybody, but I'll tell you, a headless snake is kind of okay. Think
Right.
about it.
It's like a headless piece of, like a
Yeah,
rubber.
it's just it can't bite you.
Yeah, I can't bite you.
Think about that.
But the head can. So he was saying that he had to like dig a grave and throw the snake in the head.
Oh, that sounds sad.
Yeah.
I don't like sad stories. It's supposed to be happy.
About the snake?
Yeah. No, it's it's death and
Oh yeah. Well, it's just a
snakes.
snake.
Where are we going with this story?
No,
I
I'm
don't
just
know what
telling
the
you
hell
a story.
we're doing here.
I'm just telling you a
Yeah.
story
Okay.
because we're waiting for Steve to call in.
Yeah, well, I tell you, I grew up in Texas, and I actually did eat a snake, a rattlesnake, and not because I personally did it. I was with my fraternity down south toward the Mexican border, and we went for a Jeep ride, and he sees a snake. The driver sees a snake, my fraternity brother. His name was Fred. And he runs over the snake, backs the Jeep up, and says, "That's breakfast."
Wait, Fred was your?
Fred was a fraternity brother. That was his name.
Well, Steve's calling in.
Uh-oh.
So let's answer it. We'll come back to Fred
Well,
later. Hey, Steve, how's it going, pal? Steve? Hello?
Yeah, are you there?
Steve, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, yeah.
Oh, hey, how are you, buddy?
Good, yourself?
I'm doing good. Thanks so much for doing the podcast.
Yeah, I hope Steve didn't hear that our story there and said maybe he didn't want to pick up the phone after he heard our snake.
Yeah, we were talking about
Chatter.
snakes. Do you know anything about snakes?
I know that Indiana Jones doesn't like them.
Yeah, hold on just a moment.
I'm still here. We're having some volume trouble here. I could hear you fine.
Is that okay?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, well, that's all that matters. Oh, hey, Ronan. This is Ronan, the director. We can't hear the great Steve Byrne. He's calling in. Oh, Steve, are you there?
Yes.
Oh, that's much better.
Okay.
Oh, excellent. Thanks, Ronan. This is it's weird because like I have a podcast, but I have Asperger's syndrome, so you'd think I'd be very good at managing this stuff, but I'm not, and all I had to do was hit the volume button.
It's these things
Well.
that make podcasting so exciting. One little thing like that can just bring excitement into this room very quickly.
Yeah.
A little volume never hurt anybody, right?
No, not at all.
But like it just makes me feel so stupid because like he literally just hit the volume button.
Well, the good news is your neighbors will never call and complain a noise violation on you, so that's good.
That's true.
Well, thanks for doing the interview.
Yeah, thank you.
You're in Hollywood on Friday at the Hollywood Improv. We were just plugging away that Alan and I want to go see you, man.
Oh, yeah. It should be a fun show. I every now and then I get to stay home for the weekend here in LA and get to do a nice little show at the Improv. So it's great because you get to do a 45-minute or an hour-long set. So it's nice to just kind of stretch out as opposed to going to the Comedy Store and
All right.
being locked into your 15 minutes and that's it. So it's nice in my home, in like your hometown, quote unquote, to invite some friends so they can see like a full show.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
I don't know if you remember this because I know you see like a lot of comedians and a lot of people and stuff, but I actually met you about 9 years ago at the Hollywood Improv. You were with Vince Vaughn, and you were at the bar, and we just started talking, and you were telling me that because I was a new comic, you were saying that you should do the Comedy Store and all that stuff. So
Yeah, well, you're still cracking at it, right?
yeah, I'm still cracking at it. It's hard for me to do the store though because I just don't have TV credits, but I try to do the Laugh Factory and the Improv a lot.
There you go.
Yeah, the Comedy Store's changed, I think, like the last 4 years especially, where it's become, it used to be when I first moved here, it was somewhat accessible, you could You could come in, you could say, hey, I've done this, or I know this guy, or this girl could vouch for me, or whatever. And it was fairly, somewhat easy to line up an audition. I mean, you just had to be patient. But these days, man, with the Comedy Store, it's like sold out on a Monday or Tuesday, Wednesday, and it's just jam packed, all 3 rooms. And the Comedy Store has never done better, I think. So it's kind of funny to know that 9 years ago we met at the Improv, and the Improv was probably the big club at the time, 9 years ago.
One, yeah.
But it's so funny, like, it's cyclical. All these clubs will get their minute in the limelight, and then they pass the baton, and, it just seems like every 2 years, one club becomes the hot spot, and then vice versa and vice versa.
Yeah. I think Adam Eget's done a great job with the Comedy Store, just he's getting all the great talented guys and really polishing, you know what I mean? So I think that...
Yeah, and I think a lot of the guys, that started at the store kind of neglected it, and it's kind of come into this, like Renaissance period where everybody's coming back, and so there's this great infusion of all the veterans that helped kind of establish the club, and all the guys that are working now currently, and then just a bunch of great young comics that are part of that next wave. So it's kind of fun to see.
Yeah. You see a lot of, especially you, because you're on the road a lot, you see a lot of great comics, especially on the road. Do you see, like, when you see, like, great comics on the road, do you think that they have the talent to be an L.A. comic? Like, do you get that a lot?
Well, I think, I think at the end of the day, if you're good enough and you have really what it comes down to is, it doesn't even matter if you're good enough. I mean, there's a ton of comics, I think, that are known right now, and people will go see them at the comedy clubs because they're on a show or they're in a movie. And it doesn't mean that they're a better comic. It's just they are part of a vehicle that has a great outreach, and people will know who they are, and there's name recognition with a TV show, and they go see them. So whether you're an average comic, a poor comic, a great comic, it doesn't matter. I think as long as you have the drive and the ambition and the willingness to outwork everybody and understand it's a marathon, and also come to the understanding that you're playing golf. You're not competing against anybody else. You're competing against yourself. And I think it's those 3 things that, any young comic needs to understand. So whether you move to L.A. or whether you move to New York, I think ultimately, no matter where you are in the South, the Bible Belt, the Midwest, if you're a young comic and you're in your 20s or 30s or whenever you start, you're going to be broke. So you might as well be broke chasing your dreams in one of those 2 cities than be broke and wonder when you're going to move to New York or L.A. and sit there and say, I'm going to move when I'm ready. It's like, well, you're ready now.
Yeah. It's like I'm still
go now
broke.
Because there's all those open mics, there's all those clubs, there's all the opportunities, and the sooner you get there, the further along in the race you'll be in terms of getting started, where it really truly matters.
Yeah, I was listening to a lot of interviews you did this week, because like I don't like to ask guests the same questions, you know what I mean? Because I think if someone did that to me, it'd just be kind of irritating, So I was listening to...
Oh, well, that's very kind of you.
Yeah, so I was listening to questions, and then what fascinated me was you told a story that you still do open mics and you still practice and stuff, and I was like, oh my God, that's so incredible, because, Steve Byrne, you're a national headliner, you're a rock star, and you're still doing that stuff. I think that's just very inspiring and stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I think especially when you're on the road, like if it's a Thursday night and you're like in, Houston, for example, and you finish the show, and then someone's like, oh, there's this great open mic on Thursday nights. You should go check it out. It goes till midnight. It's like, well, let's go check it out. And then you get to go and kind of, try out new stuff. And hopefully maybe somebody will see you and they'll want to come see you at the Houston Improv that weekend. But, yeah, I think, when people see, especially nowadays, all these hour specials that are coming out on Netflix or Showtime or CISO or whatever it is, it's like in order for it to be good, you got to do the work. You got to take a few laps. You got to go to the clubs. You got to hustle. You got to see where it works and what doesn't work and all that stuff. So yeah, I mean that's a huge part of it is getting up constantly, no matter where the stage is, and just working on those jokes.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think that's awesome because when you're at your level, you're a rock star and you're just doing it. That shows you that you you really care about the art, you know what I mean, and making people laugh and stuff. And I was like, whoa, that's incredible.
Remember the gig?
Yeah, I hope so, because especially nowadays, it's like, I had this conversation with Jeff Singer the other day, who works with Just for Laughs, and he was on our podcast, and I asked him about this. I said, Netflix is doing this thing where they're flooding the market right now, I think, with all these hour specials, 52 specials within the next, within a year's time.
Wow.
And then from there, it's just going to keep going, I'm sure. And there's so many comics, I think, especially the last 3 or 4 years, that have, churned out these hours within a year's time frame. And as someone who does the road, as someone who, my livelihood is just purely stand-up, and I've had a show and everything, but you got to put the work in. You can't just bang out these hour specials. You can, but the quality is not going to be there. And I think you're just diminishing the value in whatever, that individual's name is by churning out these hour specials every year to year and a half. And look, I love Louis C.K. just like every other comic, but it's just like, why wouldn't you wait 2 years and have a great special instead of, 60 minutes of like, that was pretty good. There was a great bit there. There was a great bit there. Why not wait 2 years and put it together and then have a killer 40, 45 minutes as opposed to a good 20 and a good 20. You know what I mean?
I totally understand what you mean, because like my favorite comedian is Norm Macdonald, and I get the pleasure to open up for him every now and then. And he has so much material, and he just got his first Netflix special. And I said, well, are you going to do another one? And he said, no, he wants to wait, because like it seems like what you say, everyone wants to follow that Louis C.K. thing, but he wants to just make it brilliant. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, I think why not? And look, I've done 4 of these. I'm working on my 5th, and I got to the point where it's just like the market is so flooded that to even get like the last 2 I've done, I couldn't even get a late night talk show appearance to promote it, because they're like, everybody's got an hour now.
Wow.
And so I, even this last one, I've been submitting all these sets, and yeah, you could just say, oh, well, maybe you suck. It's like, well, maybe that is the case. I don't know. But look, there was a network that was kind enough, Showtime, to acquire it, and it's out there. So, I'm really proud of that last one, but it just seems like to really have these hour specials stand out. I was talking to Neil Brennan the other day at the Comedy Store, and he said, do not film your next hour unless you know that when you put it out, people are going to go, did you see that hour?
Yeah.
And I completely agree with him, because right now there's just so much. There's too much, I think, stand-up. And I think ultimately Netflix and these other networks, but especially Netflix, is, I think, ultimately kind of doing damage to stand-up by putting so much out there that at the end of the day, it's going to be the stand-up comedians that feel the blowback and the repercussions of that. Because I understand Netflix has a service to their customers; they got to provide the content, and stand-up's a cheap and easy, content to produce.
Sure. Yeah.
But I think when they do it all, the industry itself, the industry of comedians, is going to be the ones that are going to be hurt. And I think it's going to take some time to build it back up. Stand-up will always survive. It'll always be there. But I don't think it will be ever as big as it is currently. And I think maybe we're kind of getting to the point where you might see a slight downturn in it.
Yeah.
In its popularity.
I know. I totally agree with that. It's weird because like I shot a special. It was a 30-minute thing that I sent to Comedy Central Presents, because when I shot it, that was the thing to do. You know what I mean? And now Netflix is the thing to do, and Netflix wants an hour, and I'm like, oh, I don't even have an hour. I only have, and on Comedy Central Presents, you only need 27 minutes to submit because they only air 22. So
Right, yeah.
So I was just like, oh, it's like, oh, that's going to take me a long ass time to get an hour, because it's hard for me to write jokes and perform them, especially, when you're just a feature comic who doesn't get a lot of work. It's like,
Yeah.
But I totally agree. I think Netflix right now, it's helping comedians, but I think in the future it's really going to like hurt comedians, because it's like, well, if you're not good enough to get a Netflix special, you're not good enough to play this club.
Well, I was going to ask Steve, does he think that there's a lot of people pursuing it than before? I'm under the impression that there's so many people that have decided to go into comedy. I mean, I thought when a kid was growing up, they wanted to be a policeman or a fireman.
Right, yeah.
And, oh, Dad, I just decided I want to do stand-up. I find that's kind of interesting in the sense that I don't recall that many kids that I grew up with that said that. You know what I'm saying, Steve? I'm just,
Yeah. I think it's one of those things
and
that,
do what you want. I'm not saying
all the cool things we were exposed to when we were little, astronauts, cops, fire department, whatever. Those are the toys you're introduced to, or you want to be a Green Beret. You play with a Rambo doll or something. But nowadays, it's like, there's just everything is so fractured. Entertainment's so fractured. All the different outlets for children's entertainment is so fractured. You got Disney Junior, you got Nickelodeon, you got your Netflix. There's a plethora of children's shows out there. Whereas before, when I was growing up, it was like you came home from school, you watched G.I. Joe, you watched Thundercats and He-Man, and then you went outside and played for a little bit. But nowadays, it's like there's so many different things that kids are playing with, and on top of that, it's all these kids are running around with computers in their hands too. So I don't know. I think that I don't know that many kids grew up aspiring to be stand-ups, but I think once you get to that college age or high school, when you see all the clips on YouTube, and stand-up is so accessible now, much more than it ever was, and really to kind of break through. I mean, you have YouTube stars. These kids don't even need the vehicle of stand-up to become famous or to be funny. You can just do it via YouTube.
That's true.
And so I've noticed a lot of times when I'm touring the improvs especially, you'll go and do a Friday or Saturday show, and then you come to learn that Friday afternoon, like Miranda Sings was there, and she did like 2 sold-out packed back-to-back shows, and all these 14-year-olds are there. And it's kind of cool, but at the same time, you kind of feel bad for these kids because they haven't put the work in. You gotta do the time, and comedy, to sustain it in front of a live audience for 45 to 60 minutes. It just takes a lot more than doing a 15 or 30 second or 2 minute Vine or YouTube or whatever, GIFs or any of this stuff. You got to put the work in, and that's why. When I started in New York City, everybody always said it takes 10 years to become an overnight success in stand-up. And it's so true. And for me, it definitely took a lot longer than that. I don't know if it's still happened yet, but still chipping away.
I think it's happened. I mean, I see you headline the weekends and stuff, and then I saw when you got Sullivan Son, I was like, that's a guy who deserves a show. You know what I mean? Because
well, thank you. Yeah. I appreciate it. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I also think that you'd be a great Tonight Show host. Yeah. Yeah.
Look, I think
the Tonight Show.
The years of being plucked from the road are gone because there's all these camps like Lorne Michaels. He's got Fallon doing the Tonight Show. He's got Seth Meyers doing late night, and I think that trend is just going to continue. In particular to NBC, where they're going to draft from SNL. And why wouldn't you? I mean, there's name recognition there, and then Kimmel's locked up at ABC and. CBS, they go with the Brit and Colbert, and it's tough. I mean, there's so many late night talk shows now, and then you think about Chelsea and go on and on and on. There's all different kinds of outlets now. So I don't know. I mean, right now I'm so happy doing stand up. I really love the challenge of it. But I've been working on something for the last 2.5 years that I'm literally getting ready to pitch, and I think I got a damn good shot with it. So hopefully that could sway some things, because I've gotten to the point in my career where if I'm going to do something, I really want to do something that I'm truly passionate about, that I don't mind going into an office every day, working on something, going, this is fun. This isn't work to me. And I think that's this next project.
Oh, my God. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Back to
we shall see.
Oh, I'm sure it's going to be awesome. You're one of those guys that when you see comedy, you're like, all right, that guy's just gonna they'd be stupid not to put you on TV, and you know what I mean? It's just. But back to Alan's question about the kids wanting to be comedians. You have 2 kids right now, right?
Yeah, I got a girl who's 5 and a son who's almost 2.
Yeah. Well, my question is, if your son comes up to you when he's 10 or 11 and he says, Daddy, I want to do exactly what you do with that, you living the comedian's life, knowing how a struggle, how it's a struggle. Does that scare you at all? I mean, you want him to live his dream.
Yeah, of course, I'd be very scared because I know how difficult it is. But look, no matter what, if he said he wanted to be a doctor, if he said he wanted to be a lawyer, if he said he wanted to be a musician or an astronaut, it's like any of those fields is going to be difficult. And if you want to be considered one of the best, it's going to be really, really difficult. So, my thing with, because I'm a stand-up comic, it's certainly not a traditional occupation.
Yeah.
I've spent the last 20 years of my life fortunate enough to do this profession, knowing that at its worst, I've been more happy than 90% of the people I grew up with, because I know that they've got to go sit in a cubicle or go to an office and they're miserable. So even on my worst day, it's still a blessing that I get to do stand-up for a living.
Yeah.
And the true impact it's had on my life is that no matter how much is in the bank account, no matter how much isn't in the bank account, I'm still happy doing what I do for a living. And that's ultimately what I want my own children to do, whether it's my daughter, whether it's my son.
Sure.
I don't care if they don't go to college. I don't care if they do go to college. I just want them to be very happy in what it is they pursue, and pursue it to the nth degree, because if you're going to do something that makes you happy, I think you have that extra incentive and investment to go even further and work even harder, because it's never going to be work to you. So all this time at stand-up, it's never felt like work to me, and I certainly hope that my kids can feel that same feeling I've had throughout these last 20 years with whatever they choose to do.
Yeah. So I think that's awesome.
So in short, the answer is no. I don't want them to do it.
Well, that's
absolutely not.
Well, we have to take a quick break for our sponsors, but when we come back, we got some Twitter questions. Do you like Twitter questions?
They're my favorite questions of all the questions.
The favorite of all time.
As long as they're not from a lawyer, I'm happy.
Steve can't wait.
All right. Hey, Rifters. Keith here, just giving you a friendly reminder to thank our sponsors for this episode of Reza Riffs with Steve Byrne. If you would like to visit our sponsors, LGF Museum, go visit them at www.lgffoundation.org. And if you would like to donate to the museum, you could visit them at www.lgffoundation.org/donate. Together, we could build a museum of the future. Thanks, and back to the show.
Boy, I like that.
Yeah.
I noticed...
I like the slogan, together we could build a museum of the future. I think that's pretty
that
cool.
Sounds like a mission that will be accomplished.
Do you like museums, Steve?
Love them, yeah. I mean, when I'm on the road, I try to
is that a Twitter
venture
question?
into any city and see as much as I can, yeah.
Yeah, museums are so cool. It's weird because it seems like nobody really appreciates the true art that they bring nowadays. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think if most people go to the museum, they're looking to take a selfie and proclaim that they went to a museum instead of actually going through and appreciating it. So I mean, I truly love museums. I think that no matter what the museum it is, it can be inspiring, and you could, you never know what you're going to get out of it too. I think you leave there going with a deeper appreciation, or you want to go buy a book all of a sudden and research more of it. I remember I was in San Jose, and right next to the hotel they have this great museum of modern art, and I walked in there, and at the time I was working on my second hour, The Byrne Identity, and I saw this piece of artwork that was huge. It must have been 42 by 64, and it was all just artwork that looked like currency, like American currency. It was really cool, and so that I left there going, oh man, I got to come up with some artwork ideas for my hour special in the next week. And so I took a bunch of pictures of this artwork and I sent it to an artist, and we drafted something together, and that's pretty much how the cover of The Byrne Identity came about. So yeah, you never know what you're going to get out of a museum.
Oh, cool.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
Steve.
Yeah. So if you look on the side, the border, it's all based off of currency. It was pretty cool.
It's currency.
Yeah.
So it's a frame. on the border of the poster?
Yeah.
Of the artwork itself, yeah, it's like framed to almost look like a dollar bill, and then in the middle, I'm holding the olive branch and the arrows,
That's
and
right.
it's
cool.
yeah, it was a pretty cool little process to get to go through.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we have some Twitter questions, and the thing that we like to call this segment Twitter questions, but I'm thinking about calling it fake Twitter questions because we don't know if these are actual real accounts just by their just by their names. Like, it just seems so bizarre. You know what I mean? But
yeah, as long as we don't have to send them our email for diamonds in Africa, I think we should be okay.
right.
There you go.
Okay, so Twitter question from Travis Loves Troy.
Okay.
Where did you
I think he means the movie Troy
Yeah.
with Brad Pitt.
I
think that's what he means.
That's what I was thinking too.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Steve, did Dan Larori ever give you some great Wonder Years stories on the set of Sullivan?
Yeah, Dan Lauria, he played my father in Sullivan Son. He played Kevin Arnold's father on The Wonder Years. And let me just say that Dan Lauria is probably one of the sweetest men you'll ever meet in your life. He is just a true pro. I don't know that I asked him too many questions about The Wonder Years, other than stating over and over again that I was a fan. I never wanted to be a burden to him. But the best... in terms of thinking about Dan Lauria, the first thing that comes to my mind is he was always so supportive. And I remember the pilot episode, so much is riding on a pilot episode because you hope to God the damn thing gets picked up,
Yeah.
The reason you pack your suitcase and move to Los Angeles is that one day you're fortunate enough to drive onto any one of these wonderful lots and get to make a TV show. So when the dream is actually potentially happening, I was nervous as shit.
Yeah.
I'd written the script with Rob Long. In every scene, I can't fill up these lines. And I remember the day before we were to film it, we filmed it on a Sunday. So we had Friday off, and then Saturday, Friday we rehearsed, but Saturday we had off, and then Sunday we had to come in early for a rehearsal, and then we filmed it Sunday afternoon. And I remember, because I was a producer, I had access to the lot, and I went to the lot, and I went through my blocking for 4 hours, just over and over again, doing my lines, doing the blocking, to the point where obviously it was everything I was saying was extremely rehearsed, And I remember Dan Lauria just telling me, "You wrote this stuff. You know it. Just relax. Have fun." And we did the very last scene where I agreed to buy the bar from Dan, and I said something to him. I forget the line exactly, but I'm like, "Dad, do you want to, you're still going to be around here?" And he's like, "Yeah, of course, son." And I had to go over and I had to turn off the neon, or he turned off the neon light, I think. And it was just like this sweet moment, and I kind of teared up at it, knowing that, hey, it's the last scene of the pilot, but I got caught up in the moment with Dan Lauria, and I was like, that's my dad.
Yeah,
and I remember I kind of got misty-eyed, and I walked over to him, I'm like, "Oh my God, you really got me." He's like, "And now you're an actor because you're just in the moment. You didn't rehearse that, did you?" I go, "No." He's like, "Remember that." And it was just such a great lesson because all that blocking, all that memorization, it's like you just had to live in the moment. And I didn't rehearse crying. It just happened. And so Dan Lauria, when he said, "Now you're an actor," I was like, oh, it just meant the world to me.
Yeah.
And I don't know, that was just the minute his name came up, I just had that memory pop into my head.
Oh my God, that's
Nice.
such a sweet story because I took it as when you have a pilot, you don't know if it's going anywhere, and he says, "Oh yeah, I'm still going to be here." That means I took it as in he believes in your script.
Yeah, he's look, that whole cast was so supportive, from Christine Ebersol, who I just saw on Broadway. You see this woman she's nominated for a Tony and War Paint, and you go there, and I went to see her because we all still keep in touch, all of us, even though it's been 5 years. And I went and saw her, and she comes walking out, and she's one of the two stars of the show. And the minute she enters the stage, you're like, "That's a star." I mean, that's how a star enters the stage. It's just, I don't know, I was blown away, and all I kept thinking was, I cannot believe I got to work with this woman. I was so fortunate, and Brian Doyle Murray and Jodie Long, and then all the young comics and Valerie Aslo and Vivian Bang. Everybody was super supportive, and the greatest compliment from season 1 to the end of season 3 is every guest star that ever came by the show always said, "Wow, it's never like this."
Wow.
And they meant that as a compliment. Like, everybody here is so nice, everybody here is so down to earth, and some sets you go to, the cast will break for lunch or dinner, and they go right to their dressing rooms and eat by themselves. We always ate like family style. It was great.
Oh, wow, that's
Nice.
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
So Travis loves Troy. There's your answer. No wonder.
Sorry, it was a long-winded answer. Yeah.
Great answer.
Yeah, great. It was a
I
great.
think Travis broke up with Troy by the time I finished that answer.
We still love the answer.
Yeah. All right. Twitter. Fake Twitter question number 2 from Beyonce the Best. Doug.
Okay.
Yeah, it was spelled D-A, so the best.
Interesting spelling.
Steve, what was it like working with God, a.k.a. Kanye West?
Oh.
Well, this is a story. My last week in New York City, I think it was like my last week in New York City, I was getting ready to move, and I was doing Last Call with Carson Daly. And Kanye West was the musical performer. I was the comedian. And so we did this show, and this is just before his first album comes out, and there's all this hype about this kid and everything, and everybody's like, this guy's the next big thing. And, I watched him. I was like, oh, okay, seems like a cool dude, nice tune. And then the next week I get a call, do you want to open for him at this State University of New York college show? And I'm like, yeah, of course. So I go. The show starts at 8. I'm there at 7:30 like a nerd, and 8 o'clock rolls around. They're like, all right, you want to hit the stage and do your 20 minutes? I'm like, sure. So I go up, I do my 20. I come off stage, they're like, yeah, he's still not here. Can you go back out and do like another 15? I'm like, okay. And look, I'm young at this time, so I don't have the material. So I go back out, I do another 15 minutes, and I come off stage. They go, he's still not here. Can you go out and do another 5 or 10? I'm like, I'll do 5 minutes. And I'm going out. By the way, when I say 5 minutes, I'm like asking, what are you studying? Where are you from? No material, just crowd work. So I go back out. I do it. I kill some time. I come on stage. They go, he's still not. I'm like, absolutely not. I'm going home. Good luck. I leave. And by now it's like definitely like 8:45 or 9 o'clock.
Wow.
And the show starts at 8. So I leave, I go home. The next day I talk to my agent. They're like, he didn't show up until 10 o'clock. He did 3 songs, and he made, I think, 20 times the amount that you made.
Wow.
So it was kind of a harrowing experience, but at the same time, you always knew that he was a diva from day one.
Yeah. Was that your only time working with him, or did he work with you again? Or did you work with him again?
That was the only time I actually did a show with him. I wouldn't say with him because he wasn't even there. But
Yeah.
I did my part. I think he did his part. But, yeah, he made a ton of money that day. I know that for sure. And I did not. And I did triple the work because of him.
So Beyonce the Best, the answer is God was late.
There you go.
That's right. God was late, yeah. I guess we performed on a Sunday because he did rest.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
All right. Fake Twitter question number 3. Mike Says It asks, Steve, Doug Benson called you out for not doing marijuana on his show. Did you take that as a compliment or an insult?
Well, I love Doug Benson.
Yeah.
I think he's one of the awesomest dudes. But yeah, I did his podcast. He was kind enough to invite me there. And look, I'm a father. I don't have time to listen to his podcast, so I didn't know. I just see Doug all the time at the Improv,
Yeah.
I didn't know, like, smoking was a big part of it. And I smoked once in college. It got me super tired. I tried it again, like, a year or 2 after college, and I got just super tired, and it just doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
I don't like it. And I did a show, and I think, I could come out in Hollywood as a Republican, and I would get less hatred than what I got from all of his fans. Like, I thought potheads were passive and, like, cool and laid back. These people tore into me. I got called the meanest shit just because I didn't take a hit from a joint. It was like the craziest thing I'd ever dealt with. Like, literally hate mail.
Wow.
Hate mail from it. And I was like, all right, I guess these guys are really hardcore potheads. So I don't know. It was a fun experience, but yeah, look, I'm just not going to smoke pot. It's just not my thing.
Yeah, I would totally take that as a compliment, though, because especially if you don't smoke pot, you could be like, I would love to do your podcast, but I'm not going to smoke drugs with you.
Yeah, he said I'm the only guest that's ever done a show that didn't smoke.
Yeah.
So that's that is a badge of honor.
Yeah, there's a record there for a show.
Yeah.
And then, like, if someone does a show and does that exact same move, he'll just be like, "You're not Steve Byrne."
Yeah, come on.
You can't pull a Byrne on me, yeah.
Oh, there you go. Can't pull it.
All right, fake Twitter question number 4. That was actually a good question, though, from Mike Says It. And that was actually
That's a good listener.
Yeah, that was actually a normal Twitter name. Anyways, fake Twitter question number 4 from Hockey Duckman. Steve, you love hockey. Did you ever have dreams of playing pro?
Yeah, I grew up. I started playing in Jersey at the age of 6 because that's where we lived at the time, and then I moved to Pittsburgh. I think I was 9, and I moved there right when Lemieux was starting to really ascend, and my high school years were watching Yager, and it was amazing to get to grow up in Pittsburgh and see this generational talent on a nightly basis in the NHL representing Pittsburgh. So it was amazing. And yeah, in high school, when I was in 8th grade, I was playing varsity hockey with all the kids in high school, and I was in junior high school. So I was always a fast skater. I didn't have the hands. Definitely, I didn't have the size. It wasn't until my junior year. I was 5'6" until I was a junior in high school, and then I shot up to 6 foot by the time I was a senior in high school. So I think, I had done some Can-Am tournaments and stuff and had a lot of fun up there, and the coaches would always compliment my skating, but I just didn't have the hand speed. I definitely didn't have the size, and, I think nowadays, these kids are like training to become a pro in 8th grade.
Yeah.
So, maybe if I had that mindset, I could have done a little better, but, I think you either got that talent or you don't, and I think a lot of those pros know they had the talent at a very young age, because I've gotten to become friends with some of these guys that play or are playing in the NHL, and it's just such a unique set of skills that these guys have. The long of the answer is no, absolutely not. I don't think, looking back, I had what it takes to become a professional athlete.
Yeah, it's really hard because, like, professional athletes, like, if you think about it, it's kind of the odds of making that are even worse than being a stand-up.
Yeah, look, stand-up is, I was looking at my calendar the other day, and, you think of all the comics that just work the improv comedy clubs, right? Mm-hmm. It really is kind of a select few, and I've been doing it for a good decade now of headlining the, like the A-rooms in the country. So, there's 52 weeks in a year, so there's probably 50 to 60 comics that get to tour the country over and over again and stay relevant. And I, fortunately, am one of those guys that have persevered. I'm one of those salmon that have swam upstream, but it's taken a lot of work to do it. So I never made it as a professional hockey player, but I certainly have made it as a professional comedian, and I'll take that any day because it's a hell of a lot more fun.
You got it.
Yeah,
you got it.
Well, we have one last fake Twitter question, if you want to take it.
Yeah.
All right. This is from ex-manager Rush41. Is that a O or 410? We'll just say 410.
Okay.
Steve, who is your favorite comedy club manager? Was it me? I don't know what that means.
Oh God. Does it wait? What does it say? His name?
No. It just says his. What? It just says his screen name.
Okay. My favorite comedy club manager. Huh. Geez, there's been so many over the years.
Yeah.
But because I don't know who this person is, I would say, yeah, of course. But if I have to think about it, there's two that definitely stand out to me, and that's Tony, who runs the Chicago Improv, and Nick, who runs the Cleveland Hilarities. These guys are old school. When you hear about how, like, the old casino bosses treated entertainers in Vegas back in the day,
yeah.
Before things got so corporate, that's how these guys treat you. And I really can't thank them enough. Over the years, they've been so supportive and kind to me. So I think Cleveland Out of Hilarities and Chicago Improv, those guys are truly the best in all my years of doing stand-up. Other than like the clubs in New York City that I worked all the time in LA, but those are different because those are like city clubs, so you're just kind of in and out doing your sets every night, but you're spending a weekend with these people in their clubs and getting to know them, especially after all these years, and I really appreciate the relationship that has come to fruition with both these gentlemen.
Well, hopefully that guy was either Nick or Tony.
Yeah.
Well, Steve, thank you so much for the interview, pal. I really appreciate it. I know you're busy.
Yes, Steve, it's fantastic. You're so generous with your information, and believe me, it's not falling on deaf ears.
Oh, well, hey, I appreciate getting to spend the time with you guys. I wish you guys all the best of luck, and hopefully we'll see each other out there on the road.
Do you have anything where the folks can find you? Twitter or Facebook, or which one do you prefer?
Yeah, everything I have is Steve Byrne Live. So Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, my website, everything is Steve Byrne Live. And, my newest hour special, Tell the Damn Joke, is out on Showtime right now. You can stream it. And I have a documentary I just wrapped up on The Amazing Jonathan that should be coming out within the next year to year and a half. So I'll start tweeting about that a hell of a lot more and giving information about it. But it's something we're kind of in the final stages of editing, and we're going to get it out there soon.
Awesome.
Great.
Well, if Alan and I are free, we're going to come by and support you on Friday.
We'll do that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it. And have a good one.
All right, thank you, Steve.
All right. Later, guys. Bye.
Take care.
All right, that was Steve Byrne, man, the nicest guy.
I'm telling you, I just sit here and I'm absolutely amazed at the generosity of information that all our guests, and here's another one, I learned.
I thought that last Twitter question was kind of weird.
We want to repeat that because it was about the management?
Yeah, like you should have said his name.
Run that by me, because it was a little...
He should have said it. He should have said his name, so like Steve could like
the name.
Like
you want
his
to read
name.
that?
Oh, you want me to read the question?
Yeah.
Oh, it says, Steve, who was your favorite comedy manager?
Yeah. Okay.
So I don't know if that's taking a comedy club manager. So that,
he didn't say club in the question. He just said comedy manager.
Yeah, he said club manager.
Oh,
yeah.
Interesting.
But it's weird because like you would think he'd say a name, so Steve could be like, "Oh yeah, I remember that guy."
Well, we don't know who this guy is. Is he another comic?
Well, obviously it's Troy or Nick.
Yeah, so could have been Troy or Nick. There you go.
But that was great, guys. Steve Byrne does have a new Showtime special called Tell the Damn Joke. It's on Showtime. Yeah. It's streaming. It's very funny.
Showtime.
He's also going to be at the Hollywood Improv on Friday night.
Friday night.
I really want to go.
You know what? Let's see if we can make that. That's Friday night.
Yeah, this Friday night.
See, I leave Saturday. So that's
where are you going, Alan Lee?
Well, I'm going to New York City.
Alan Lee's going to New York City.
You got it, man. You got it. The Big Apple. And
what am I going to do here?
Well, I don't know. You're going to see Troy and what's the other guy? You're going to hang out with them, I guess. Troy.
Who's going to be my trusty sidekick?
Well, I don't know. We've got Ronan here. We've got Sam. We've got Sheena.
I definitely need Ronan. All you had to do was hit the volume button.
The volume. We did that again. That happened. Did it ever happen before? I can't remember.
It probably has happened before.
Yeah. Well,
they don't explain it. They don't say, Keith, okay, if you have a guest calling in, make sure you hit the volume button. Like, I assume it's already volumed up.
It happens. No big deal. I'm sure that...
it hurts being a blonde sometimes, Alan. You know
a dumb blonde or smart blonde? Just a dumb blonde? You're a smart blonde, though. I like you. Look at you. This is Razor Riffs. You're a smart blonde. And again, ladies and gentlemen, I am a heterosexual, and Keith and I are friggin' friends. Oh God, here we go again. You did that joke at the very first. We did that at the first show with this blonde thing. And I started it
with Angelo Zarikas.
I'm the one that brought it up. I said, "Oh, he's a beautiful blonde." It's just a joke. I don't know, because I'm the one who started that, not you. Really creepy.
Yeah. Well, that was Steve Byrne, guys. Again, if you want to follow him on the Facebook and on Twitter, it's Steve Byrne Live.
Absolutely.
He has big projects. He's a superstar. He's the type of guy who's just going to keep going up.
Well, let me tell you something. Considering how hard it is for me to do open mics, I didn't even want to. I was so quiet.
That was amazing.
You know
He
how
still
quiet I
does
was
open
when he
mics,
talked about
though.
that because I didn't want to even go there.
Yeah, I get that. But that was amazing.
The idea that he said that you have to work hard at. I'll tell you something. That question about saturation comics that are having all these 1 hour specials. That was good. You remember how you punched that up, and he answered it.
He answered everything.
I thought that was a hard question.
Yeah, it was.
What did you think? You think that was a little bit? I mean, it was a great answer.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not in the position to say if it's a hard answer or not.
He nailed it.
That's not. Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did awesome.
Yeah.
Well, so Alan Lee's going to be in New York for the next 2 weeks.
No, just maybe a week and a half.
A week and a half.
And then I'll be here again, and
okay.
We'll see how that goes. I might try to do some stage time.
You should.
You're not going to believe this. My mother actually wants to go to an open mic with me, and not to see me, but she said she wants to go on stage. I couldn't believe she said that. I was in shock.
You should do it.
What do you think?
Do it. Do it like Steve.
I'm going to go with my mom, and my mom wants to sign in with the rest of the comics.
You should. Yeah.
You
should,
think?
Yeah.
Well, you're very nice.
I think you should write her an act.
Yeah.
Be like, I'm Alan. Her first joke could be like, I'm Alan Lee's mother. He's the host of Reza Riffs.
Oh, there you go. Plugging the show.
Plugging the show.
But she doesn't want to do that. She wants her own material.
Okay, well, Alan Lee, that's what you're doing.
What are you doing?
I'm actually headlining the OC Steelhouse on. Actually, I can't go on Friday because that's the 30th. That's when I'm doing my show.
Oh, sweet. So, you've got a show.
I'm headlining the OC Stillhouse on Friday night.
Okay.
Tickets are $10. It's in Anaheim. It's a bar.
The Stillhouse.
The Steelhouse, yeah.
Oh.
I'd much rather go to the Improv and see Steve. But, I got to do stuff for $50, right?
You have to, make money as a comic. You can't just go see other comics all the time.
Yeah. But, and then I'm also doing the headline The Ranch on July 5th.
Where's that?
That's in San Miguel. That's one of my favorite rooms.
You like that room?
I love that room. It's weird because they never call me back, and then they call me back. They say, hey, can you do the show the day after your birthday?
No. Just like a woman.
I was like, sure.
You love her, and then call you at the last minute. San Miguel.
Yeah,
fantastic.
The Ranch.
The Ranch.
We went up there.
I'm trying to. Yes, it's coming back to me because I was actually confused with the time. You were so sweet. You took me, to San Bernardino to that.
Yeah.
Remember?
Sam's giving us the light. So
you put me up.
Yeah.
I never forgot that.
That's because I love you, Alan.
Oh, boy. Here we go. I love you, too. Jesus.
You can follow me on Facebook, Keith Reza. Also, the show, rate and review on iTunes, Reza Riffs.
Please do.
Follow us on Twitter, our fan page. And again, one more time, very thank you to our sponsors, the LGF Museum. Just giving you a reminder, this episode was sponsored by the LGF Museum. You could give them a visit at www.lgffoundation.org, and you could donate what you can to help build a museum of the future at www.lgffoundation.org. So thank you guys very much for listening to the show, and if you can donate to help build this great museum, go to www.lgffoundation.org, and together we could build a museum of the future today. I'm Keith Reza, and thank you very much. See you guys next week.
You're listening to Reza Riffs with Keith Reza and Alan Lee, right here on LA Talk Radio.